Hey everybody. So this video here is going to talk about the histology of osseous tissue. In other words, we're going to study the histology, which is the study of cells, of osseous tissue, which is bone tissue. So, what are the cells that are in our bones? When studying the cells, or really any of these kind of terms, we're going to see a lot of different terms here that maybe are new to you. We got to break them down first. There's no pun intended when we get to osteoclasts. So, osteo means bone. Some of us know that, some don't. And I do. So osteo means bones. And then we have a couple other terms here that we can talk about. Blasts is a term that we're going to have to know. Sites are a term that we're going to have to know. And then clasts are another term we're going to need to know, except we're really only going to talk about osteoclasts or clasts of any kind here in bones. But you're definitely going to see blasts and sites throughout the future future units. Anyways, let's just start off real quick with where does bone come from? How does it start? So there are osteogenic cells, meaning that there are cells that can become bone, and they are going to develop from mesenchyme, right? So mesenchyme is the beginning of these cells. Mesenchyme is a very specific type of tissue, type of cell that is found in fetuses, in the growing fetus, that have the ability to turn into bone, amongst a few other things. So this is going to occur in the endosteum, the inner perosteum. So we talked about this before. So the endosteum is on the inner part of the bone, and as well as in the Haversian canals, which we're going to talk about in a little more in a minute. And they're the only source where we're going to find new osteoblasts and osteocytes. So in other words, this is the only place we're going to have bone growth, are in these locations. That way we don't have bone growing everywhere, which is good. We don't want bone everywhere. Talk more about these different cells. The first cell here is the osteoblast. Blast is a term that we use for forming or the beginning of something. So these are the beginning cells. These are like the baby cells. These are the ones that are growing, and these are going to build the new bone matrix. This is what's going to build the new bone. Eventually, they get to a point where they're fully matured, and therefore they change from an osteoblast to an osteocyte. Site means cell. So these are our fully formed, mature bone cells, osteocytes, bone cells. They're going to be trapped within the bone matrix. So they're not going to be able to move around because, again, bones are sturdy and not really moving in the sense of its cellular. So keep that in mind. And but they are still going to remain active throughout the life of the bone because they are going to be responsible for the maintenance of the bone, whether they want to build more or promote the tearing down of bone. So who's going to tear it down? These are the osteoclasts. Osteoclasts are the type of cells that are going to be responsible for breaking down bone so that they can release minerals into the blood. So, like, why would you ever want to break down bone? Because, as we mentioned previously, bone is going to have many, many inorganic materials that we need. So we talked about the salts, phosphates, calcium, etc. And when our body needs those things, we have it stored in our bones. So how do we get it out? We got to break it out. Osteoclast's job is to dissolve or break down the bone so that we can use those minerals. So that said, these are the cells that are most of the cells that we're going to find within our bone tissue. And let's move on to the next section of the histology of osseous tissues.